Trust the Profits, it is your boy, The Formula here, and I am joined by...
And the Oscar goes to...
Sean Patrick Nolan in the house, and last but not least, definitely not in our hearts last, it is...
Riders up!
Of course, you guys do know me. I am...
This is a shrewd buck.
I am The Formula. Yes, we are here not to talk about Evangeline Downs or any wonderful place like that. We are talking about the most wonderful of places. That is the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs coming up this Saturday. Ooh. And we are going to give you essentially a full field rundown, a roundtable, if you will, going horse by horse, giving you, drum roll please, one winner from each of us, one favorite long shot, the horse that around 20-1, maybe higher odds that we're most excited about, who we think could hit the board, possibly win even. But outside of our winner, who we're excited about with long shot odds, 3 in the money picks. So these are threats to finish in the money, rounding it out there. So that would be like essentially our top 5, more or less. And then we're going to give you 5 tosses, horses that we feel pretty comfortable each saying are not going to hit the board. And then, of course, there's going to be 10 horses left over that are going to fall into the not used category. Gentlemen, I've been talking this whole time. I should let you say something.
No, Sean, we're excited. It's Derby time. Let's go. I'm excited.
We got 20 horses to cover, so a little fanfare, and let's get at it.
Yeah, let's go one by one, starting off with the bull. Mess with the bull, you get the horns. Bob Baffert, Martin Garcia, the sire here into mischief. 4 wins in 6 races. That is quite a lot. Winner of the BC Juvenile. That is what I think is his biggest win to date. He's got a bunch of other stakes wins, but the BC Juvenile is a pretty big one. Style, I put him down as a pace setter, a pace horse at least, giving pace pressure or being a pace setter. Current morning line is 20-1. And interesting to note, not one of us has used him, and Sean listed him as a toss. Sean, since you put the most emotion into this, I'll let you talk first about Citizen Bull.
Sure. So obviously the horse does have talent. I'm not saying that he's but to say that would be naive. However, he's in the 1 post. I just don't see and this draw couldn't have been any worse for him than I think that any other horse in this field, maybe except Rowan Almighty. But Citizen Bull, the 1 has speed, the 2 has speed, 4 has speed, the 5 has speed.
Yes,
all the early speed is drawn inside with him. So if you had 2 kind of closers next to you, maybe you could sneak right out and go. This is going to be a log jam going into that turn. And from the 1, I think he got the worst of it. So I just don't see with his speed how he's going to get out cleanly with all those other horses trying to get to the front. I think he'll be the one that's compromised the most.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, let's just throw this out there. His last prep in the Santa Anita Derby, I thought, was pretty bad. He was out there early speed, and of course that race is only 1 1/8 miles, and he couldn't even last in journalism, and Biza and Westwood, all ended up passing him. But that was a pretty ugly prep. But then you ask yourself, they didn't need it to get into the Derby, where they just were they sandbagging a little bit. And then the interesting thing here is blinkers off for the first time. So are they trying to take the blinkers off? Normally you think blinkers on means focus and speed, and blinkers off means try to settle. So you're trying to get the horse to settle a little better. So maybe they are. Maybe they've decided that. But if that was a thought process going in, I think the 1 hole kind of throws that out the window. Now you're in the 1, you got to go. And Sean basically said what that means for him. So to me, I didn't use him in any of those positions there. I hate to say he's a toss, but I really don't think he comes close to hitting the board.
Yeah. Citizen Bull, my thoughts. I'm going to echo a lot of what you guys said already. I am extremely conflicted on this horse, though, because I did have him pretty high all year. I know you guys had him a little bit lower, but I was going by the philosophy that Alombre and I set years back, which is you win the BC Juvenile, until someone really knocks you off the hill, you maintain. And he was maintaining for a while. He wasn't losing until Santa Anita Derby. He looked bad. But of course, Tim, you made a very good point, and this is the point that is ringing in my head when I think back to Medina Spirit and I think back to Authentic. Both of them lost the Santa Anita Derby and then went into the Kentucky Derby and won. Medina Spirit's a bit different because he had a normal Derby schedule. Authentic went into, I believe it was the Travers, won that, and then won the Derby in September or August in the COVID year. So it's a little bit of a different scenario, but I still keep thinking to myself, is Bob playing, not necessarily playing tricks, but is he playing tactics here?
Yeah.
And did he say, just slow down Citizen Bull if he doesn't get to this point? We don't want to waste the horse. Keep him fresh for the Derby, because he's had some great workouts. If you put faith in workouts, he's been looking really good so far. A lot of people jumping on board. And so it gets me wondering, is there an opening for Citizen Bull here, even with him in the one hole? Can you imagine? I've been storing this comment up just for this show. Can you imagine if the first horse to win from the one hole in 30, 40 years?
Ferdinand, 1986. Yeah.
86. Okay. I thought it was 83, but 86.
Yeah.
First time in 39 years ends up being Citizen Bull, a Baffert horse that we are all on top of because he lost sanity. Can you even imagine?
Amazing. Yep.
And Sean, you perfectly said it too, because you were talking about, of the four horses next to him, 3 are also going to be gunning for it. Possibly the 6 horse too. I don't think so, but this is also the horse that was pace setting at the UAE Derby in the 6 hole. So I don't think he's going to do it, because that's a horse that once we get to him, I've talked about him coming from different angles, but yeah. Citizen Bull, toss for Sean, not used for the rest of us. Moving on.
I will just quickly say, if he was in the 10 or 11, I probably wouldn't call him a toss, but being in the 1, that's what made me do it.
Yeah. And I'm on record a number of times saying that I don't think the 1 is as much of a curse as it's been brought up a number of times to be, but regardless, I get it. I get the theory behind it.
Yep.
Next up, Neo Equus. This is one of the ones that we have more or less all agreed is a toss. This is Saffie Joseph Jr.'s horse. Anyone want to take Neo Equus on?
Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at this horse, I just don't think that that this horse is cut out for the distance. I do think he's going to want to show a little bit of speed. I don't think he has the speed of the others in here. Kind of like with Citizen Bull. I mean, you look at Citizen Bull, and the one thing that I had on him that Neo Equus is about the same is that they're both like 23:47s when they're out front. You're not if you're 23:47 in the Derby, you're 2 seconds behind the leaders. Okay, so I really think it's going to go more like 21:45, which is what we typically see. And let me just say this: that so far this week, the track is playing lightning fast. Okay, so the speed out front is those kinds of fractions. So I just think with those kinds of fractions that this horse is just a little bit below. I mean, he did show a little bit of speed there, putting a head in front in the stretch, getting ultimately passed by Tapan Street and Sovereignty in the Florida Derby. Right. But he just seems a little bit less than these. As you've got there, his best win is an allowance race. And he just seems like he is below the top horses in this race.
Yeah. The only thing that I was going to note about this horse is the only positive thing, and then I'll pass it over to Sean, is this is the horse that I have is having the best slop run. 6 furlong, allowance optional claimer. He came in first place by 3 lengths. Again, it's 6 furlongs, but it was in the slop. So he didn't mind it. He got out in front. He took it. He stretched it out. And I don't remember if he beat anyone of consequence in that race. 54K claimer. It's not like last year when you could look at Mystic Dan and say, well, if you saw him run in the Southwest, if that track is a bit wet, he's going to love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Neo Equus was one of the top horses I had for slop, but just by a margin. And in the two big races he's been in, the Florida Derby, Fountain of Youth, he got in front and faded back. Came in third by 2 3/4 lengths, and then Florida Derby, rated a little bit, was trying to get close to the pace, and then faded back to third by 4 lengths. Sean, what you got on Neo Equus?
I think he's got some talent. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be here, but I think, to say it nicely, the Connection's got a nice hat with his name on his thing, and he gets to walk over with the rest of the horses, and what a thrill of a lifetime that is. But I think that's good enough for them. So I mean, I just don't think this horse is at this level. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to come in last, but I just don't see him, staying up with the rest of the talent down the stretch. I think he's good, horse, but you need to be great to win the Derby, and I just don't see him with this group in this fashion.
I do want to point out one more thing on Neo Equus. Jockey, Flavien Prat.
Yeah. Hey,
possibly the best jockey in North America.
We'll right probably. Yep.
How did a 30-1 pull the best jockey? I don't know.
Well, yeah. I can kind of tell you why, because
go ahead. Yeah,
because Flavien Prat put all his eggs in one basket, and he may end up without, he was going to end up without a mount, and this is where he ended up, but this is the only ride he had left at that point. So,
eggs in one basket, and what was the basket?
Baiza.
Okay, yeah, that's where I thought you were going. I just wanted to clear it up for the listeners. Yeah. Okay. We all agree, and Colin agrees. He's not here, but he's going to agree with us that Neo Equus is one of the 5 tosses. Moving on. Final Gambit. I will kick this one off because, as you can see, I have the most emotion behind Final Gambit.
Yeah.
For, I would say, the past 2 weeks, my emotions on this horse have been building and building. I think it was the first video I recorded, so this was like not even this week, but the past week. And the more I watched on this horse, the more I started to fall in love. This is a Brad Cox trained horse, Luan Machado. A fan. We got 3 fans of Luan Machado here. 2 wins in 4 races. A first, a second, and a third. Filling out the rest of that. Jeff Ruby's Stakes is his biggest win, and he's a deep closer. Currently facing 30-1. I do see a little bit of internet swelling around him. I think people are on to me here. Maybe they're on to themselves, but I love the way this horse closes out, especially at the Jeff Ruby Stakes. If you watch that, he is pretty much in dead last most of the race. And when he decides it's ready to go, he actually took the rail and found his way around, made some effortless moves, went 6 wide across the stretch, and then closed out like nobody's business, leaving no question who was going to be the winner in that race. This is the only Brad Cox horse left after Tapan Street scratched, and after a slew of other horses were thrown out there at different times on the Derby trail. He is left with his quote-unquote final gambit here. I have this as my favorite long shot. I would love to see this horse hit the board. I would be including him in my bets. Guys, what do you got here, even though you didn't use him?
Sean, I'll let you go first this time.
Yeah. So it's an interesting kind of theories. There's 2 kind of theories kind of going on right now. His final kick was ultra impressive, right? Now, if you remember last year, Endlessly made an incredible big kick and he won. You know what I'm saying? So there's the people that say, okay, it's the poly track. Endlessly did the same thing last year, and he even a good 10th. But I'm saying, but let's be fair. Endlessly is a turf horse, okay? Yes. Final Gambit. I don't think it's just a turf horse. I think he could definitely be a dirt horse. Brad Cox, when you look at this, 2 fills, Rich Strike, Animal Kingdom. I'm saying this race can no longer be called just a non-factor. As a matter of fact, Wood Memorial and the Bluegrass can't even compare the last 20-something years to this race. They've had more winners. You know what I'm saying?
Cover your ears, Tim. Cover your ears.
But I'm saying, so the facts are facts. So anything Brad Cox puts out on the track right now, I can't argue with people liking it. And this horse put such an impressive last race. You have to be impressed with him. So anybody taking 31 shot on this horse, do I think he's going to be in it? No, I'm not going to play him. But anybody who takes a shot at him, I don't see any problem with it whatsoever, especially how well he finished. Even 2 fills a couple years ago, almost won. So, I mean, to say this race is not is below par would be naive. And I think this horse, if he does that move again, look out.
Yeah. And just before Tim goes, one thing I did want to point out too, in all of my closing stats, right, in my data model, I do have him significantly as the best closer in the race in terms of my closing stats.
Sure.
So, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. First of all, the Jeff Ruby set up perfectly for him. I mean, they went really fast up front, and the race set up absolutely perfect for him. I see why he's a wise guy horse when you look at the power in his legs and the stretch in his stride. So both of those things indicate that this horse should be closing. The time indicates he should be closing, and he will. But here's the problem. He's not a closer, he's the closer. And you got the word deep on there. He will, if he's going to win, put this down, he's going to have to pass 19 horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
He will be last. He will
He'll be Sierra Leone.
And he will, I think that he's going to be like separating himself off the back last. And we know Luan loves to ride like that, and he loves to come late with that closer. But here's the thing. Yes, he's going to have a horse with a kick, but look at the closing kicks in front of him and how much they're going to start ahead of him, and that's my concern. Is he's got Sovereignty and Sandman and Luxor Cafe and all these other horses that are going to have kicks as well, and they're going to start way ahead of him. So and maybe not have the traffic that he's going to have coming from the back, because at this point you got horses backing up, you got other horses trying to make their trip, and it's just like unless you can part the Red Sea, and we've seen that happen a couple of years ago, Rich Strike. Okay, but unless you can get that miracle trip,
right? Yeah,
I think he's just up against it, and that's why I didn't use him.
His move at the Jeff Ruby was to just go around them, and he went around in 6 wide and closed it. So if he does that at the Derby, it's not going to be that much wider. But
it's still
point, I get
almost twice as many horses, 12 to 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said almost twice. I can do
almost
that.
twice. Yeah. I was doing it for my own math. That's all.
Right.
All right, guys. So you gave us the final word on Final Gambit. I've got him as my favorite long, and the rest of you are not using him. Moving on to Rodriguez. This is the other edit that one out. This is the other Bob Baffert horse. I've got him listed as pace as well. We've seen him rate a number of times, but at the Wood Memorial, he put together a really strong race. I would not say in terms of numbers, and I put this in my video, that he looked like an early burner pace setter. He was gradually getting faster and faster during that race and put together some really good late numbers for a pace setter. Mike Smith, the jockey, Authentic, the sire, 2 wins in 5 races. Wood Memorial, obviously his biggest win. I did put him down as pace is his style, and 12-1 morning line. None of us using Rodriguez. Tim, I'll let you go first on this one. I'm just going to toss it over to you.
Yeah, so here's the thing. He's got 2 wins, and when you look at both of those, they are both gate to wire fashion. Okay. And so he's a need the lead type. And so we've seen that he's been able to show the speed to go gate to wire in those races. But once again, I will say that he's not the fastest horse in this race. I will put 3 horses faster than him in this race. And I think there are 3 horses that are going to beat him to the lead of those that want to go faster. And we'll talk about those as we get to them. But I just think that because he can't get there, what's his path to the winner's circle? He's going to be behind faster horses and then trying to run with them and then trying to outclose closers after not being able to catch speed. I just don't figure out how he runs that enables him to win this race because I just don't think he has the speed to be out front in front of some of the other horses who are willing to go breakneck.
Sean Patrick Nolan.
Yeah, I'm with him. I mean, really an impressive Wood Memorial, but let's be real. It was Grande, who I think we'll get to him very soon, but a talented but young horse. And then 5 New York breds that were basically behind him, like, that really just didn't run a race at all. You know what I'm saying? So that Wood Memorial, except for the top 2, I think was rather weak. So if you look at him, and every time he was sent in the Santa Anita Derby to try to catch Citizen Bull, he couldn't catch up. You know what I'm saying? So where like a journalism just went right by them. I'm just saying I will get to him later, but I'm just saying every time Rodriguez was put behind, he just couldn't catch up. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just don't like in a field of 20 with this much speed, as Tim said it perfectly. Not enough speed early, not a big close enough at late. I just don't. Again, once again, the Wood Memorial. I'm a New York guy, love it, but the Wood Memorial was weak again. I think the Wood Memorial curse continues. The horse is good. He's talented, but he just doesn't have enough to win this race.
Yeah. So my opinion on this, other than American Promise, he dropped the most impressive 9 for a long time. And I usually put a lot of stock on that. 148, where to go? Sorry, 148.15. The record for Aqueduct for the Wood Memorial is 147 flat.
Yeah.
So he came pretty close to that.
Yeah.
American Promise on a one turn, Virginia Derby, first time being run at Colonial Downs in this fashion. Dropped a 146.41. And obviously we'll get to that when it comes, but that is what stuck out to me about Rodriguez. And what Tim said is what's been stuck in my head, which is he only wins when he goes gate to wire. But when I look at his pace lines, I feel like they look more like a stalker or someone that comes from like 1 to 2 tiers back and wins. We've just never seen him do it and perform that way before, right? If you take his pace numbers and you put them out there and you say, okay, just run this race. I don't care who's in front of you, who's in back of you, but by the time you get to the finish line, you're going to be in first. You're probably going to pass 2 or 3 horses along the way. I don't think I've ever seen him pass a horse.
Yeah, right. He hasn't. No.
And I don't know if that was the plan because Baffert was training up certain other horses and he was just using him as like a pusher or something like that. But, you know, again, it comes down to tactics. It looks like this is a gold medal horse, but when it comes down to it, if you look at all of the races and try to figure out what's going on there, I'm with you guys. His pace numbers are not good enough to beat. Tim said it. 3. I can think of 3 of them as well. 3 other horses that are going to be jumping out into the lead and are going to be in more precarious positions to do it, and they're going to be burning up that fuel to. Yeah, that's why I have him as not used as well. All right. American Promise. This is where we need Colin Sheehan because American Promise at number 5, Dwayne Lucas, Nick Juarez, Sires Justify. I think he's got Tappet on the other side. I mean, the bloodlines on this horse are phenomenal. 2 wins in 9 races, a whole bunch of times finishing outside the money. Took him a while to break his maiden. Biggest win was the Virginia Derby, which I just talked about. I've got his style as stalker / pace because he did go gate to wire at the Virginia Derby. I looked at his all 9 races and I tried to figure out what I think he's going to do because he's all over the map, but I think he's probably going to be a little bit of a stalker, maybe like a mid-tier closer, definitely not deep closer, but something a little bit closer. And his morning line is 30-1. Sean, Patrick, Nolan, you and Tim both had American Promise as a toss. Sean, why don't you start off with your thoughts on American Promise?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the horse is like, you know, again, doesn't deserve to be here. That was a nice win in the Virginia Derby, but that was one turn. It was against Getaway Car, who just has not proved to be really a good horse at all. I mean, he's a very good miler, not a mile and eighth, horse. And I just think that this horse, though out of Justify, so clearly I don't think the mile and quarter is a quote problem. I just don't think he's good enough versus this group. And even if you watch the last part of that race, he was kind of in and out of the track there, coming down the stretch. He can't do that if he wants to be in the hunt coming down the stretch. So
gotta run clean lines.
You gotta run clean lines. So Zach, and that could be for a couple of these horses. So, but I think he's good. And hey, Dwayne Lucas, I mean, he could put out a 100-1 shot, and I would still, give him a chance. But no, this horse is just not good enough in my estimation versus the rest.
Yeah, I did not list him as a toss. I'll go next, and then I'll toss it over to Tim. I did not list him as a toss, so I guess I don't feel as strongly as you guys about him not deserving to be here. I still can't get over, and you can tell me it's one turn all you want, the 146 9 furlong going gate to wire. I mean, I'm still in my mind because I look at these numbers constantly and I try to like reconcile, okay, how close is it to the record? How can I normalize this? Right. And you throw the Virginia Derby at me and call it a 1-turn 9 furlong race. And it's like, okay, guys, I don't need any more variables. Come on, come on. And he runs a race like that. And I'm like, do I think about him? Do I not think about him? Obviously, Sean has him as a favorite long. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why he's got him in here. He likes to justify lines. Yeah, this is a mystifying horse to me. We haven't seen him since the Virginia Derby. At any other prep race, he hasn't shown that much. Maybe that was when that was his coming out party. I don't know, but I would have liked to see him compete against bigger horses at a bigger Derby, and then answer all those questions for me. But as of right now, I just don't have the feeling on him that I've got for my top 5. Maybe he's on the periphery somewhere. Maybe he's in the top 10 just because of what he did in Virginia, but I can't put him in my top 5. Tim, what do you have on American Promise in terms of a toss?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Virginia Derby is a race that you can just put a line through as far as its validity towards being counted, against these other preps. We all know that, they created this race as a prep this year, to give Colonial a prep. And the 1-turn thing, it's just ridiculous. And the speed, I think a lot differently than you. And we've had this conversation as far as times. I'm never going to factor a 1-turn time against a 2-turn time because it's not the same. It's apples and oranges. But when I look at the two-turn preps, Risen Star and Southwest, I mean, this horse was up the track and stunk. And who did he beat? I don't care the time. Who did he beat in the Virginia Derby? A whole lot of nothing. If you look at Render Judgment, okay, let's look at Render Judgment when we get there and see how much red's across that one. And
Yes.
you know what I mean? And I don't think this horse, it was better than that one. Okay. It was better than a horse that nobody likes and nobody thinks has an absolute chance and any kind of chance in the race. I get it, but I will say this. This is one of the 3 horses I think is going to be in front of Rodriguez coming out of the gate.
Interesting. So you don't have him as a stalker. You have him as a pace setter.
I think American Promise wants to be out front. It's speed. It's all speed. I mean, look at those numbers and how do you not get speed? I mean, the horse, even in the Colonial, even coming out of a 1-turn, which is, is more, even though it's a route distance, we're sprint like and going 1 turn. Getaway Car was out front, who we know has early speed. This horse was right behind Getaway Car, and that was the only horse that he had to pass. But I definitely think he's coming out and going, and he's got all that speed right there. There's a lot of ones up front on those lines. And when you look at the maiden race, here we are again, 2 races. You look at the maiden race, all ones. You look at the Virginia Derby, was right behind another horse, but in a 1-turn race. So I just think this horse wants to be forwardly placed, and the pace is going to pull him along. He's not going to have a choice. But because of this speed around him, I just think he goes. His early pace figures basically say that he's going to be up there, and I think he's faster than Rodriguez.
Yeah. This is definitely the horse I wish we had Colin here to defend, because I'm very curious to hear his thoughts of having him as the favorite long. All right, here we go. Admire Daytona. Yukihiro Kato, Christophe Lemaire, Drefrong is the sire. 2 wins, 2 second places in 6 races. His biggest win, the UAE Derby. The style I have is a question mark because he pretty much, he was setting the pace at the UAE Derby. But then I looked at the Hyacinth, and he was, I can't remember which one it is, the Hyacinth or the maiden that Luxor Cafe broke his maiden on. One of them, he was like 6 to 7 lengths back, and then another one, he was 2 to 3 lengths back. So I don't know what style this horse is going to be running. 30 to 1. I've got him as a toss here. So I'll give you a couple reasons why. So number 1, he's been beaten by Luxor Cafe twice. In Luxor Cafe's maiden win, they ran a mile or 1,600 meters, which is like fractions off of a mile, essentially. It's essentially the same thing for anyone who's a track star from high school. He beat him just barely at a mile, Luxor Cafe did, but he beat him nonetheless. They both took off and left everyone behind by about 10 lengths. It was pretty fun to watch. Go ahead and watch my video on that later on today after you're done with this. Now, fast forward to the Hyacinth. He's positioned a little bit further back, makes a move to try to catch up to Luxor Cafe, but Luxor Cafe beats him by about 4 lengths in that one, again going a mile. So twice Luxor Cafe's beaten him. So I'm going into this thinking, okay, if he's going into the Derby and so is Luxor Cafe, what are the chances he actually beats Luxor Cafe the third time? That's already 2 positions that if Luxor Cafe is first, that's 2 positions this horse has to get past in order to get into the money, right? What are the chances Luxor Cafe wins? I'm going to say that's a little bit lower. So already you're starting to chop off the positions that Admire Daytona, I think, is going to make it in. And then you look at the UAE Derby. I did not like the final time in that. I love the fight in the horse in that race, but he dropped a 159 at 9.5 furlongs. You look back last year, I think 157 is what Forever Young ran. And the year before that, Derma Sotogake ran a 155. Those are the numbers I'm looking at if you're going to look for a horse that's going to finish in the top 5 in the Derby, right? Derma Sotogake was 6. Forever Young was 3rd last year. So this is the reason I'm crossing out Admire Daytona. The numbers I can look at, I just don't think he's going to fit in there. Maybe he might be a top 10 horse, but I think it's easy for me to say he's not going to hit the money. Let's go to Sean. What do you got on Admire Daytona?
I'm kind of like with you. I mean, I really don't. I mean, again, do we know how good the Japanese form is? It could be really good. I mean, as you said, he was behind them, but they were 10 lengths, 12 lengths ahead of the field. So are they just that good? You know what I'm saying? And is that good enough for a top 10 finish? You said it could be, but I just think that I was not impressed with that. I went back and watched the UA Derby. The second horse isn't even coming. So I think they know he's not good enough. You know what I'm saying? So I admire the fight. I just don't think this guy's up to the Forever Young standard of Japanese excellence. And I think the connections wanted to try it, but I just think he's a little bit below this group.
Yeah. Riders Up Tim.
So I wish I had bookmarked this page a while back. That I was doing some research on the Japanese horses that were coming in and trying to get some insight. And this has been a couple weeks ago, and I ran across an article about that maiden race you were talking about. You say Luxor Cafe beat the horse twice, but in that maiden race, there was a write up about that race, and that's the article I wish I had bookmarked, to where people said that the Admire Daytona actually came out of it with a better impression. Okay. The better impression in the race, that ran the better race and basically was right there, was just beating a nose. So came back
by a nose.
Came back in the very next race and broke his maiden in the very next race. And then the two faced up again in the Hyacinth, which Luxor Cafe won. But if you go back and look, you could say that Admire Daytona got a bad trip in that race. Okay. But so
probably why he was in the back and why I was saying I'm not sure where he's going to come from. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thought process was that Admire Daytona was actually a little bit better thought of when they sent Admire Daytona to the UAE Derby, because typically that's the route the better Japanese horse goes to. So this is the horse that went to the UAE Derby and not Luxor Cafe. Now, I personally like Luxor Cafe better. I'm not saying that. The only thing that I'm saying is, based on a few things that I've read, and I look at this horse and he doesn't impress me, but that's why I'm just not using it. I'm not willing to toss this horse because I think highly of Luxor Cafe, which we'll talk about in a minute. But because I think highly of Luxor Cafe, there have been enough people saying that this horse is right there. One thing that that really baffles me is you get Forever Young basically being right there for the win last year, having a great career since that race in the Derby. Really probably should have won the race, but the Japanese don't do the whole, doing claims, and they're not going to claim foul, and it's an honor thing with them and their culture, so that they're not going to file an objection. They never will.
Yeah,
that's just not the Japanese culture to do that. But Tyler rode both of those horses down the lane, and had it not been for that, you could be saying that the Japanese have already won their first Kentucky Derby. So the thing that really baffles me though is that these two horses this year are not getting really any publicity. With the Japanese coming off of their best showing ever in the race, and a horse that many say in Luxor Cafe, which we'll talk about in a second, may be better. And some people think that Admire Daytona is better than that one. So that's why I don't want to say he's a toss. He probably won't be on my tickets, but I'm just not using him. But like you just said, he's probably in that middle ground to where maybe some do, maybe some don't. But I would think about it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Luxor Cafe. Tim, well, you just got done talking. I'll let you take a break here.
No, I'll jump right in because he's my favorite long.
Yeah,
let's go for it. Yeah, let's do that. Go for it.
Yeah, so for everything I just said, I mean, this horse, after breaking the maiden, he's won 3 straight since then. And every time that there's been a challenge, he comes up. And this is one that his kick is pretty darn good. And his numbers in Japan at the same tracks, they match up very, very favorably to Forever Young. A horse who now is a 4-year-old is just having a spectacular career. And this horse is just really doing good things. And like I just said, maybe should have been your winner last year. So with that being said, I've got to have this horse on my tickets, and I will.
Same.
And I just think that so many people are fading this horse this year as the Japanese horse. This is an American Pharaoh. American Pharaoh did what? How did he do in the Triple Crown races? So it's like I just don't want to keep this one off. I really think that this horse is better than people think. I'm not saying that he's the first Japanese to win, but I would definitely want him in my tries, and it wouldn't surprise me. It definitely wouldn't surprise me if he actually wins this race, because I think the pace sets up. I think he is a stalker. I think he's going to sit back. I think that with all the speed up front and the closers coming, if you look at that last race and the way he extended that lead and his kick, I mean, everybody's talking about Wise Guy, about Final Gambit and his kick. You tell me that kick is much better than this one.
Right.
Because I think this one has a very similar, I think his is a little faster, maybe not so powerful and long, but he's got a great turnover, and it is just a really strong kick. So I just think he's coming in the stretch. I am not leaving him off my trifecta ticket.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's got 4 wins in a row, including the Fukuryu, which he won by 5 lengths, going 9 furlongs in that race. I think he dropped a time of 1:52. Which doesn't sound all that great for a race that comps to 9 furlongs, I should say. It's a little bit less. But I went back and looked at the times for the Fukuryu over the last, I think, about 20 years, and no one breaks 150. It's not like over here in the U.S. where if you're at 150, it's like, okay, not a great 9 furlong time. You got to get 149, 148. Over there, I would say you hit 152, 151. Now you're starting to talk about a horse.
Yeah.
And I've heard that the dirt is different over there. I think maybe it was Matt DeSantis, or maybe it was one of you guys who told me that it runs more like sand than it does the dirt we have over here in the U.S. Yeah. He's just been knocking down wins, stacking them up. Some of these races he's stretching out and looking really strong. And I think position-wise, I've said this a number of times in my spotlights, the stalkers, right? The stalkers that get themselves in that position where they have less traffic to deal with and they have a nice kick down the stretch. That's what you want right here. So he's sort of like, he's a bit of a Japanese journalism who has raced against horse fields of 16 and 15 and 11 and 10, right? He's actually seen big fields.
Right. Yeah.
So I've got him in the money. I don't have him as my favorite long. I don't have him as my winner, but I've got him in the conversation for sure. Sean, what are your opinions on Luxor Cafe?
Yeah, I didn't use him because I think there's some, but I would not be surprised at all if this horse makes even the top 4. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't shock me at all. To many people's surprise, a lot of people don't know this. This is American Pharaoh's first Derby horse, which is amazing to think how long he's been aside. This is his first Derby horse, so he's never had a Derby horse run. Interesting, and so this will be very interesting to see. Obviously, this horse has been ultra impressive in his races. Magic Moreira has won in Hong Kong. He's won in Japan. He's won in Australia. He's won many races on dirt. I don't think the big 159,000 people to him will be like another day at Shatin or Japan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's not going to face him in the slightest. Obviously, he hasn't ridden on Churchill Downs dirt much, but he's a great jockey. So the big spotlight is not going to face him in the slightest. He's going to be a stalker. If he's right there, if he gets the perfect trip and can sit right off the guys and he gets that kick, absolutely he's got a chance, to get up there and then make a real mark. I just a little cautious with him, but I mean, if you have him in your top 5, I don't blame you at all. He's like, to me, he's like 9, 10, 11 for me. So he's right there, but I just don't have him,
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's a full sibling to Cafe Farrell, who out of Mary's Follies. Cafe Farrell won over $5 million, multiple grade winner in Japan, and ran in the Dubai World Cup and ran in a lot of good races. So definitely the connections American Farrell with Mary's Follies they've produced in the past. So now let's see what they can produce now that we got one that's running here in the States.
Yeah,
indeed. Luxor Cafe, big in Japan. Next up, we have, we were just talking about this horse, Journalism. I think we're all in agreement. What shocks me here is no one had this horse as their winner. I think I get why. We all had him in the money. 4 wins in 5 races, 1 time third place. Biggest win being Santa Anita Derby. The sire here is Kirtland, Umberto Rispoli, the jockey, Michael McCarthy, the trainer. Style, I definitely think he would be qualifying as a stalker, at least as far as we've seen in these 5-horse races. He looks like a stalker. Who wants to go first on Journalism? I'll toss it out there for anyone who wants to grab it.
Go ahead, Sean.
Sean, go ahead.
Okay. So Umberto is one of my favorite riders. So I always root. Sure. I always have a soft spot for him. He rides a lot of the Oscar Performance babies. But what do you call it? But and obviously, I think this horse is very talented. I mean, even the other day, the first time he came out, he looked like a dressage champion. He's just so nicely built and everything, and he plays the part. Looks great. He can go to the front. He can stalk. He can do almost anything, which I give this horse tremendous credit. Here's my one thing about him is the fact that, again, he was only running against 5-horse fields. This is a 20-horse field. How does he do with the gate with 20 horses? The other question is we don't know what the 6 and the 2 Japanese horses are going to do next to him. Well, there's always a history of some Japanese horse going bonkers on the front. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that affect them and the gate and all that stuff? And when I look at him, I definitely think he has a chance for sure. I just don't know who he's beat. He passed Barnes. Barnes, to me, is a very good miler. I did not think Barnes would be a 1.25 mile horse. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's been facing Citizen Bull, and we didn't even, so I think this horse has done everything right. He's looked the part. He's worked magnificently. He loves the track. So I definitely think he should be favorite. And I would say he's the one to beat, you know what I'm saying, in terms of, but I just think there's going to be a lot of factors for him that he hasn't faced that I think could ultimately make him the 2nd, 3rd, 4th best horse in this race.
Yeah. I know we haven't posted this video yet, Sean, but the comment section is already up in arms about your comments about Barnes. Just letting you know that right away.
Yeah.
Tim, I'm going to hand it over to you on Journalism.
Yeah, I totally agree with Sean's comment. The main reason that I don't have him on top is the question about the small fields in California. I will say this. If when I look at the race setup, I think he's going to want to take towards the back and not even the mid. I think he's going to be behind the mid closers and in front of the deepest closers. That's where I think he wants to position. I think he's got a route to do that. Luxor Cafe right to his inside wants to take back. I think everybody inside that, other than Final Gambit, everybody else is going to want to go out. So he's going to be able to dip down inside, and I think he can do that pretty easily and then start to get comfortable and figure out a place to where he wants to be and let those horses to the outside of him come in and fill in between him and the speed, which is what will happen. But my problem is just that. Now he has all of those horses in front of him, and he's not faced anything like that. So look, Sean just said how he looked like a dressage horse in the comments. And look, he's one of the most impressive physical specimens I've ever seen on a racetrack.
Couldn't agree more.
I've ever seen on a racetrack.
Yep.
And you know, it's just like he just looks the part.
He
He looks like the star. And he could be. And you know, it's just, but guys, it's a 20 horse field Kentucky Derby. And we know what happens. You know, it's a who's who list of beaten favorites when you go back and you look at it. And what have they lost? Like 6 in a row now, as far as the favorites. So it's one thing. It's like he might be the one, and he might be the horse to beat, and he's definitely the horse to beat. I think we've got to. You're always, as a handicapper and a bettor, trying to find a way to beat the favorite, right? And I think we've got reason and justification to beat this one,
right? But clearly the horse to beat.
He may be so good that he overcomes that. I'm going to play to beat him, but I will tell you that I will have tickets with journalism on top because I'm not stupid.
Yep, me too. Yep, no, me too. Absolutely.
Yeah, I will box him in there. I don't know. I'm still struggling whether I'm going to use him as my key. I might use a different horse as my key just to hope to get something a little bit longer. We'll get to that in a moment.
You know my perspective on that. Key one of the long shots and hope that you're the favorite you think is going to be there, but hopefully you get the one that you really think is going to be there, and you get the favorite out of the money and really inflates all the prices.
But yeah, this does feel like a good year to play against the favorite. And there's only one favorite, and there's 19 other horses, and there's only 3 spots to hit the money and only one winner. So like you said, you try to beat the favorite. This feels like a good year to do it, as much as we love journalism. But the fact that this is his first time since, I think, his maiden race, or maybe an allowance race after that, where he's facing this many horses. And ever since then, it's been 4 and 5 horses he's facing, mostly 4. Like you said, we don't even know if he's truly a stalker in the Derby. He could get pushed further back. We don't know how he's going to handle traffic, whether he knows how to negotiate that or not, when it's more than 3 horses and they're stretching out because Westwood is starting to, whimper down, and Barnes is still sort of hanging out there, and Citizen Bull, who knows where he is, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's our thoughts on journalism. Definitely got to include him. He's the best horse out there, but definitely don't feel like he is hands down a Justify type horse on your ticket.
Right.
Burnham Square. Tim, you take this one up because you got him as the winner. Tell us why.
Look, you guys know that I have loved this horse for some time, and Sean and I both, when he went out in the Holy Bull, we were talking in our chat group, and we both loved this horse, and I've loved him ever since. The Fountain of Youth was not a great race, but I think you can make excuses for that race and the wide trip, and he was 5 wide at one point in that race, but he came back in the Bluegrass and he won that race, beating a much rejuvenated East Avenue in that race, who was out on front. And I know what everybody's going to say. Everybody's going to talk about the times in the Bluegrass. And look, I'm just going to say it again. I said it in my video, and I know Formula's getting ready to say it as well because he's a time guy. And look, but here's why I don't like times. Keeneland this year, go back and look. There's a database. I shared it with the Formula the other day.
Ever.
There is a free database out there to where you can go back and you can look at all of the races. And I pull the data all the time. There have been 93 basically races of certain types at 93 different different races, to where you go back and you look, and it's like every one of those, it's like this is some of the slowest race times since Keeneland has gone back to dirt. And it's like over and over, and even in the sprints, but also in the routes, the times were just slow across the board. What happened before it opened up? Oh, we pushed opening day. We pushed Bluegrass Day. Why did we do that? Historic amounts of rain in the state of Kentucky. That track was a mess. Yes, it got to fast, but that doesn't, fast is fast. It's deep. There's water under there. Yes, it's got a hell of a drainage system. On those first couple of race days, we went from sloppy to good to fast, all in the course of one day. And it's just like the track drains well, but it's just different. And it was deep, and it was slow. And it's just, the times were slow.
matters.
If you look at times, please, I will tell everybody, look at times and bet against everybody that was in the Bluegrass Stakes, because this is a pari-mutuel game and you're losing tickets, pay my winning ones. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at. But look, and it's not just that. I do like this horse, but I did not come into the Derby planning to put him on top. But the more I look at it, and the more I look at how he's prepping, and what, I'm not listening to trainer talk. I'm not listening to what other people are saying. I'm looking at the horse myself, because it's a horse I've been following. I'm telling you, he feels himself, and BJ loves this horse. If anybody gets this horse around the track, they talk about how he does not like being inside and being the rail, and everybody's worried about him having to go wide. BJ, if you look at the other day, he ran him on the inside on the rail. So I'm not worried about that at all, because if there's one guy that can get him around the rail, it's BJ Hernandez. And he knows, we know that he knows Churchill. How did Mystic Dan win the Derby last year? Because BJ took him around the rail. And
BJ was on his back.
If he doesn't get the rail trip, he doesn't win that race. And I just think that things are lining up. But here's the other thing. Burnham Square has never gone backwards in speed figures. Look at his speed figures. He is getting better and better. And I'm telling you, that Bluegrass, while people are going to focus on time, don't look at time. Look at the improvement. This horse is getting better at the right time. And I don't think all of the horses in this race that can be said for. And he is really moving forward, and I'm going to have him and the crazy thing is 12-1 morning line. I actually thought that he was going to drop lower, and I want the morning line price because I think that's good value. And with the early money, he's sitting at like 32-1. And I'm like, yes, please give me 32-1 on Burnham Square.
All right. Colin's not here to defend his in the money, but Sean Patrick Nolan is. Sean Patrick Nolan, I know you've liked Burnham Square since the dawn of time. Just tell us why.
30
and by
years,
the way, I did correct his record here. Right, he's 3-1-1 in 6 races. I think I have a copy and paste from the previous horse journalism. My apologies for interrupting. Just wanted to clear that up. Sean, go right ahead.
Absolutely. 30 years ago, Unbridled, the great story, Carl Navziger, Mrs. Genter, you've won a Derby. Who was the exercise rider for Unbridled? That would be one Ian Wilkes. Wouldn't that be an amazing story 30 years to the day of a trainer coming around? I think this horse is just a really, really solid. As Tim mentioned, his numbers are getting better. Ian even said he did not crank him up enough, that it was his fault the horse lost the Fountain of Youth, because he just didn't have him cranked enough after his impressive first win at Florida. So what does he do? He brings them back to the Bluegrass. Great horses overcome obstacles, right? Yeah. That was as you said, it was a dreadfully slow pace, but he still found a way to get past Eastern Avenue. Great horses find ways to beat obstacles. And this horse did that in the Bluegrass. I'm not saying it was the most impressive, but I'm saying he did it. And he's coming into the Derby the right way. Ian Wilkes is going to have this horse. Brian Hernandez is going to have almost the same trip as Mystic Dan last year with this horse. You know what I'm saying? And he's got a great post. They have to be thrilled with that. I think he's going to be very dangerous, and I could definitely see him winning this race.
Yeah. I think the reason I left him off is because I just ran out of room for him.
Yeah.
I had a number of other horses I like, right? And we all have the closers that we like.
Yeah. Very much like my Luxor Cafe. I could have put him in, you know what I'm saying? But I just, I just like other horses.
Line somewhere.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be journalism. Yes. All right, guys, I'm going to move on. In the interest of time, I'm shortening up.
Yeah.
Grande. We all have this one is not used. I will jump in and start talking what I can about Grande. 3 races lifetime. Broke his maiden in January of this year at Gulfstream, going a mile. Then he followed that up with an optional claimer, going a mile and an eighth, winning by 2 lengths in that one. And then went to the Wood Memorial, lost to Rodriguez by 3 lengths. As we know, Rodriguez put together quite the 9 furlong race. This is a horse that it's one of these that came onto the scene so quickly, similar to Final Gambit. I think we all expected Todd Pletcher to have a different horse here at this time. Grande just sort of popped up and they're like, okay, I guess it's going to be Grande. This is the only Todd Pletcher horse. John Velasquez gets them out. Once again, I got the wrong record in here. Oh, darn it. Yeah, what do you guys have to say about this horse from Curlin, Grande?
Tim, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say. I honestly, we'll pick it up here. On the back half of the card, but look, it's Pletcher's only entry. I mean, you can see there his best win is an allowance optional claimer. I don't have him as a toss, and I know what people are saying about his last race and everything. I just haven't seen enough out of this horse to put him with the best in the race.
Right. I mean, one thing you can say is John Velasquez gets the mount here again, and in his first two wins,
the goat,
right?
So
he had Velasquez in his first 2 wins out of 3 races. Went Dylan Davis last time, got second place. Going back to Velasquez, is that the difference maker? Who knows? Sean Patrick Nolan, what do you got on Grande?
Just quickly, what would a Derby be without Mike Rapoli? For God's sake, you know what I'm saying? You have to have Mike Rapoli in the Derby. Right, exactly. You know, exactly. Right, exactly. Like him, hate him, whatever. He's
I could use a break. Right,
exactly. But I'm just saying, exactly. So here's a Rapoli horse.
1 year.
I think this could be the horse that maybe no one wants to face in like October, August. I mean, if he gets going, you know what I'm saying? This could be the horse that he could be like locked. Was at the end. I'm saying only he's healthier, but I'm saying, but he could be the horse that no one wants to face when it comes to Pennsylvania Derby time. But I just don't think he's seasoned enough or good enough to win this race. I wouldn't think a top 10 would be out of the question for this horse. I think he's talented. I just think he's too young and too inexperienced, but I would look for him big time at the end of the year to be one to be reckoned with.
Yeah, agree. All right, let's hope I am out of errors on the slides here. I did have to put them together quickly. All right, we've got ourselves Flying Mohawk. Flying Mohawk, I will admit this is the horse that I've probably seen the least of. I did watch the Jeff Ruby Stakes, came in second place by 3 lengths to Final Gambit, one of my favorites. This is a horse that has been on turf most of his career, other than that one time he was on Tapeta in Turfway Park. Yeah, he's been all over the place. He's got a couple wins on turf, a maiden here, an optional claimer. This is a horse that just sort of points his way in by getting second at the Jeff Ruby. And I think a lot of people are scratching their heads wondering how that happened. Guys, do you have any feeling for Flying Mohawk? Tim, Colin got him as a toss. I got him as not used. But Tim, why don't you jump into it?
Yeah, so let me just say this. This horse has no chance in the race. Jason Worth can kiss my ass. Okay. And you know, if you're wondering why I say that, I don't know if you saw the video he put out yesterday it was all over X. And basically that's what he was like getting all over, because so many people were saying his horse has no chance. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the race. Everybody can kiss my ass. So Jason Worth can kiss my ass because his horse has no chance. That's all I got to say.
I love the fire. Bring it. Sean Patrick Nolan, give me some more fire.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yep. So the people get a nice hat with their name written on it, and they get to walk over again with their horse, just like he did with Dornoch. Right? Exactly. Yep. Only Dornoch had a lot more talent, but he was stuck in the one hole. Right? Exactly. So no, I think this horse. I mean, who knows if the pace up front is just that ridiculous, and he gets the right trip, and everyone gets blocked. I mean, it's horse racing, right? It's Red Strike, but no, I'm not. I don't think he's that level, and I think it's a good connections story, and they're building the game, and I think that's awesome. But no, this horse is not the one to do it.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't put him as a toss, like Tim did, is because I do like his pace layout. That is the only reason I didn't put him as a toss.
Yeah, and that's why I put not used, because I thought maybe if everyone got blocked and he got the right trip, I mean, he could maybe get up and make some, but no.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move on. East Avenue, I've got him as a toss. I'm going to jump into that right away. So East Avenue has been all over the board. Tim put together what I am assuming is going to be a very nice video in his spotlight on East Avenue, a horse that he has been on top of since the dawn of time. I've got him as a toss because I do believe This is a pace horse. 20-1, Claiborne Futurity winner, 2 wins in 5 races. Medaglia d'Oro. Manny Franco gets the mount here. He's traded mounts a number of times. Obviously, Tyler Gaffleone was a mount for a while and got the injury, so he's no longer there. Brendan Walsh, the trainer. But I just feel like any sort of pace horse in this race, and the East Avenue is going to be one, is going to get caught up in that pace, and it's going to be too much. And the closers are going to have a field day. The stalkers are going to be like, excuse me, pardon me. And that's why I've got him as a toss, simply because of his pace profile. Tim, you've got him as in the money. By all means, do tell me why.
Yeah, and here is the second of 3 horses that are going to be faster than Rodriguez. And not only faster, this is the fastest horse in the race. Okay. I'm telling everybody right now, East Avenue is going to go to the lead.
There we go. That's what I was hoping I'd hear. I want to hear someone say he's going to the lead.
He is going to the lead. He is going to be out front.
Yes.
And he's going to try to run off the screen. And I don't care how many speed horses are inside of him or the other one that we'll talk outside of him here in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
But this is your speed horse. This is your pace setter. And he's going to be out there. And here's the thing. We look at last year's juvenile, and everybody knows he hit the gate and what happened. And okay, so we're as the favorite, and we're willing to write it off. He comes back in the Risen Star as the favorite, and he has a horrible race. He finished 10th of 12 and was way back. And I will tell you, even the connections were baffled as to what was going on there. And you know what? How many times have we talked about on this channel horses coming off of a Breeders' Cup race and doing poorly and just needing a race to get back to themselves? And we're talking about horses that win Breeders' Cup races.
Right. Yeah.
But we've got that Breeders' Cup angle that we talk about a lot. So I am willing, look, it looks like a stretch to say that I'm willing to throw 2 out. But here's the thing. I'll tell you this. I loved East Avenue last year. I was ready to excuse him for the juvenile and had him in the Risen Star. I did not have him in the Bluegrass because I was ready to toss him. Okay. Because I thought that, okay, this is not the horse I thought he was. But guess what?
Rule.
Here's the thing. He's back. And I'm just telling you, I think he is. And he's going to be out there. And look, Keeneland, that if you look at the race on the card, it's set up for closers. And after setting those fractions and everything, he just got beat by a nose by Burnham Square in that race. He almost won. And just to hold on with all those other closers in the race, I mean, that was pretty impressive on its own. And I just think that he steps forward. Here's one of my Angles Formula nose I love. He's only raced twice this year, so he's third off a layoff. He's third off a layoff in the Kentucky Derby. And he's working really well. Look at the fractions. They're fast and you know, as are everybody's, but I'm just saying he's back. He's the East Avenue I think we thought he was. He is who we thought he was, right?
All right.
And I think he's going to be out there. Do I think he's going to win the race? No. But I think that he might be the oddball to where every now and then you get a horse that's good enough on the front end. Some actually win this race, right? They get out there and I think that it sets up for the closers. But how many times have we seen in the preps so far this year, the speed horses hanging on for second or third? Horses that you didn't think that they would when you thought all the closers were coming and they were going to get them. And it's happened a lot in the preps this year. This is your horse that's going to do that, and he's going to do it in the Kentucky Derby. Maybe he doesn't hold on for second, but I think this is a horse that can definitely be in the top 3. If he turns around and he becomes the horse that I really thought he could be, he could win this race, and he could be the horse that could be a super horse, go gate to wire on amazing fractions, and just be the kind of horse that's done that in the past that has just blown us all away.
Sean Patrick Nolan.
Yeah, it killed me to put him in the not used thing because everyone knows I love this horse. And I got to spend the whole Bluegrass weekend, as Tim knows, with Brendan Walsh, who's one of my favorite and dearest friends. Love the man.
Life of Sean Patrick Nolan. My goodness.
And he said to me, right, and Tim knows this. I actually told Tim. Tim said, what does he think? He said, in the Bluegrass, he said, Brendan said to me, Sean, I'm going to tell you one thing. He said, either he's going to be up by 20 lengths or I'm going to be behind by 21 lengths. He said, we're going to be up. And he damn near took it
There's
the
no
whole
in
way.
between, though.
But there's no in between, right? Exactly, right? Yeah. So as Tim said, he runs wonderfully. He goes to the Breeders' Cup, goes to California. We know he hit the gate. Goes to Fairgrounds, Again, real head scratcher. Comes back into Kentucky, goes into the phone booth like Superman, right? Comes back to Kentucky, his favorite place. He goes into the phone booth, comes back out, and all of a sudden he's the horse that we saw last year, right? I mean, it almost takes it where there's something about him with Kentucky where he just shows up and runs big. You know what I'm saying?
Breeders' Cup curse be gone.
Again, I'm with you. I'm a little worried about him up front with everybody else. Can he hold on? That is my main question. That's why I don't not use. Total clarity here. I'm putting $2 across on him, even though I have not used him because he's Brendan and I love this horse. But I just think the pace and everything, that's what I'm really worried about him is if it gets too fast and he's up there, then I just really worry about whether he can hold on. You know, exactly.
Right.
But that being said, he definitely, Manny Franco, one of the best and most underrated. I think he's got a chance.
And one more quick comment. So he goes out there, he's going to set blistering fractions. He's a Godolphin horse. If the pace falls apart and he loses, if only Godolphin had a closer.
Ooh, check my thing later.
All right, guys. Now we're at publisher. Steve Asmussen, Irad Ortiz Jr., American Pharaoh the Sire. That's 2 pharaohs. Record is 0-2-3. Biggest win, no wins.
None.
Deep closer, 30-1. Guys, I'm gonna start it off here because we all have him as not used. Colin has him as a toss, but I really love this horse. And maybe I'm just being the wise guy on this. I've got him as not used. I couldn't fit him in. And like maybe you guys are going to be like, well, cooler heads prevailed formula. But yeah, I love the way he closes out races. I love the fact that he just sort of hangs around and he usually follows Sandman to the finish line, which is probably why I didn't use him, because I figured if I'm not using Sandman, then you know what's the point? Yeah, there's something about this horse I really like. He's got Irad Ortiz, love Steve Asmussen, but he's like, I've got him in the top 10, but not the top 5. What do you guys have for me here on Publisher the Unwinnable?
Okay, I have not used there. Okay, but I have to say something. How many times do we see Irad Ortiz ride for Steve Asmussen? Not very much. Not very much. He and his agent chose this horse over a lot of other horses, right? So this is not a move that Irad does not ride for Steve Asmussen. If this was Joel Rosario, I'd be like, okay, Joel rides a lot for Steve. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. Santana rides a lot for Steve. I get it. This is Irad Ortiz, one of the best riders in America, picking a trainer that he doesn't ride for much, right? So this horse, yes, he hasn't won. Do I think he's good enough to win? Probably not. Every time this horse goes longer, he's running better. You know what I'm saying? Yes, so I mean, so anyone who says that he can't hit the board, that's, you know, exactly. Do I think he may be still a little bit young, but every time he's gone longer, he's run better. And if you like Sandman, you have to use him because he was coming right behind him. You know what I'm saying? So for a young horse, and the fact that Irad Ortiz picks him, I'm saying that speaks volumes to me that Irad thinks he's got a shot to win the Derby, which he has not done yet. I can't throw him out of the top 5. I mean, like if you're betting him, I threw him out because I think there's 5 better horses. But he wouldn't surprise me, and he will be underneath for me if he's coming. He'll be a definite threat.
And if Sandman runs a straight line, who knows if Publisher doesn't have to like check up, and maybe he ends up passing him because Sandman was just all over the place as he usually is. Tim. Publisher.
Yeah. So, I mean, just really quickly, he's a maiden. He's not going to win the race. I didn't put him anywhere, but I don't have him as a toss because I agree. I mean, this horse might be something eventually, but can we just take him out of the Derby and put him in a friggin' maiden special weight and let him win? Aww. You know, it's just like and as far as Irad getting on him, it's because nobody else is on him. All the best jockeys have good horses in here, and Irad didn't have one because Todd Pletcher's only got one horse in the race, and you know he's got somebody on that horse. So it's just like things just kind of fell into his lap. Look, I'm not gonna. gonna say he doesn't finish in the money, and that's why I don't have him as not used. But I don't see it. He's done it 5 out of 7 times. But come on, this is the Kentucky Derby, the best of the best, and all of these horses in here. You can't tell me that he's going to finish in the money against these. I'm not going to toss him, but I just don't see it. He's mid-pack at best. And look, with everything else, and I love him going forward. I'm with you, Formula.
Yeah.
I love the horse, but
Yeah,
can we let him get a friggin' win so he knows what it's like, and then put him in where he belongs for a while, and then let him come on as he should, instead of putting him over his head every time.
Yeah. Next up, we have Tistastic. And guys, I'm going to jump in. I love to see that you have him in the money at 20-1. I think you got some great value here. This is another Steve Asmussen horse, and he does have Joel Rosario on this one. Coming from Tis the Law, 3 wins in 8 races, the biggest one being the Louisiana Derby. This one I would describe as a closer. I've got him as the winner here. And my main reason, so I've been on top of this horse for a while, and I was saying, okay, he's going to win this one. He's going to win this one. Came to the Louisiana Derby. I'm like, nope, can't do it anymore. 2 strikes, you're out, similar to East Avenue. And then he goes and he puts together a humongous race at the Louisiana Derby. So I got back on board. And then as I'm going through everything, and I'm putting together these Derby spotlights, and I'm comparing the paces. I'm looking at the breakdowns. I'm looking at the splits. Every 2 furlong pace. I'm like, how does it match up to the last 11 Derbies? Which race of all these major Derby prep races, the Santa Anita, the Florida, the Arkansas, the Louisiana, comps best to the Derby in terms of times of the splits? And to me, it was the Louisiana Derby. That was the one that I thought had the best comps in terms of speed. And Tistastic, running 9.5 furlongs with flying colors, did it for me. And that's why I've got him as my winner here. I feel like he's run the best race that is the comp to the Kentucky Derby, or what I think the Derby is going to set up to. And he's ready at 20-1 to be my winner. Let's see. You both have him as in the money. I will pass it over to Sean first and let Tim close it out on Tistastic.
Well, again, as you said, right? He and we'll go into my long shot pick later. They're the only 2 who've run 1 mile and 3/16. No one else has run that distance. You know what I'm saying? And they were both very sharp as attack. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We're learning with Tistastic, by the way. The Rebel that Cole Battle won, right? Is that day nothing was closing, and he's a deep closer. So we knew. So I said to Fairgrounds, let's see how he does on the track, and he just came blazing, right? Tis the Law. What can this horse not do right now? His horse is a win on Poly, turf, the moon, dirt, whatever. This horse, the 2 top horses right now, sires, are Constitution and Tis the Law. That's Tis the Law's dad. So you're just seeing how much his horse is right now. Everything's running. So, I mean, the 1.25 miles, not a problem. 1.5 miles, not a problem. So I think this guy, especially if the speed, and who better, Joel Rosario lives coming from 26 lengths. Now, so suddenly, just like my pick, he's going to have to pick off a lot of horses. Then if they're falling back to him and he doesn't get the right trip, that is a concern. But I think this horse is coming right in. 1 mile and 3/16 wasn't a problem. He came flying down that stretch. I think he's right there with everybody else.
Yeah. And Tim.
Yeah, this horse actually scares me a little bit. And the one thing that I will say is I love that Steve Asmussen and Winchell Thoroughbreds got this horse into the Derby, because
Yes.
we all know that they had a horse that had a great opportunity to be much better. And, you know, the horse's name escapes me. Magnitude.
Yes.
It took me a second. Magnitude. So Magnitude won that race, and that was a horse that I was saying all week. I love these connections, and you know how they always seem to get there and get things done. And I was glad that they were able to get Tistastic in. And you see, I've got this horse in the money. I'm not sure the horse wins. I don't have the Louisiana Derby really high, although I think overall the Louisiana Derby to me was better than the Arkansas Derby. I think it was a better race. Yeah. And as a winner, as a result of that, I like Tistastic better than anybody out of the Arkansas Derby. Anybody. And I just think this horse is a little bit scary. And I don't have the horse on top only because I think the speed figures are a little bit below and the top couple that I've got. And I think, but this horse could move in the right direction, has moved forward a couple of times this year. And the one thing is that I just wonder if this horse is just one of many that are coming at the end. And is this one the better one? I'm not sure this horse is best to get on top, but I definitely want this horse in the money.
Yeah. All right.
Excellent.
Moving on to number 15. Render judgments. We don't even have a thumbnail for him. He's a toss. Anyone got anything they want to say on render judgment?
I love Julian. Have a safe trip. I love Julian Leperoux. He's my man.
Well,
right, have a safe trip.
Like we've rendered judgment on him already by all calling him a toss and not giving him a picture.
Yeah, and it sucks that this is Kenny's only horse in the race after the year he had last year. But I think Kenny's just going to be just fine, But I'm just going to say this. This is what I said earlier. So what does that say about American Promise? That we're all saying this horse is a toss. American Promise, that this is the only horse that American Promise really beat in that race. And oh, by the way, in the horse that this race broke his maiden, he beat American Promise.
Yeah.
That's
Don't like American Promise.
Safe trip, Julian. We love you.
Yes.
The one thing I will say about this horse is he ran 3 9-furlong races in a row.
Yeah. Hey, anything can happen, right? Rich Strike. Hey,
I mean, his best race, he was beaten by 4 lengths, but still,
Right. Yep.
All right. Let's move on. We got Cole Battle. All of us not using him. All of us love the story here.
Yeah, we do.
What a fantastic horse. 5 wins. Gotta love a horse that just wins. Won the Rebel. Is he a closer? He's run a whole bunch of different ways. That's why I've got him as closer / question mark. This is one of the horses I had a hard time judging. I'm not using him. What's that?
He's mid-pack.
He's mid-pack. Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe him. Closer, I think, is probably the best term. Mid-pack closer.
Yeah.
30-1, I think that's about right. The big question marks around him for me, race times. I mean, when he came to the Rebel, that shocked me that he actually won the Rebel. I think it was Modicat Road who was setting the pace. He came from behind, closed, beat Modicat Road maybe by a nose in that race, maybe by a length or so. And I think that was his best race easily. But everything else leading up to it and after it, I've always felt has been just a hair too slow, which is why I couldn't squeeze him into my top 5. Tim, do you want to go ahead and tell us what you think about Cole Battle?
Yeah, if you really want to know my thoughts in depth, and we'll go fast to try to get through these last few horses. But I just put out a spotlight video on this one, so where I talk about him in depth. But look, there's no better story in the Derby than this horse. It was a $70,000 yearling purchase. He's got the most modest pedigree of any horse in the field. He just keeps moving forward. I did give him out on air right when the Rebel was going off that I was telling everybody at 12-1, take this horse because he just keeps winning. He's done nothing wrong. He had never lost on dirt, and now he's only lost once on dirt. So look, I do not think this horse is going to be even in the money. I would love nothing better for this horse to win the Derby and all my tickets lose just for the story and for the connections. Lonnie Briley, Juan Vargas. And let me just say this, for connections like a Lonnie Briley who comes out of the South, who runs primarily in the Louisiana circuit up to Oakland, and Texas a little bit, and occasionally runs at Kentucky Downs, and which is kind of the route that this horse is kind of taken. But his first Derby, and he brings along the local guy, Juan Vargas, and lets him ride the horse. His first Derby. It's a big day for all the connections. I love the story, but this horse is just below everybody. But here's the one thing about this horse. His heart, I don't know if physically it's as big as Secretariat's, but I know that, from figuratively, it's as big as Secretariat's. This horse has a big heart. It's a great story. I wish them all the best of luck in the Derby.
None of us tossed him, by the way. Not a single one of us.
We're
all keeping an eye on Cole Battle. Couldn't do it. Sean.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. I'm like Tim, if he wins, I'll be absolutely clapping. I'm not going to have him on my tickets, but if he wins, amazing story. I don't think he gets the distance. I just don't think. I think Cinderella's is slipper slowly slipping away from him. But hey, man, the horse has got a huge heart. I love the story. I love the trainer. I wish nothing but the best for him. I just don't think he's good enough. But if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one clapping up for him.
Absolutely. He can beat all my tickets, but I'll love the story. Next up, we have Sandman. This came as a shocker to me. I was waiting for the moment where I brought this slide up and you guys are like, wait a minute, you didn't get my Sandman pick. Not a single one of us used Sandman. 6-1. This is a closer. Winner of the Arkansas. 3 wins in 8 races. Coming from Tappet. Jose Ortiz and Mark Cassie. I know we've all been talking about Sandman, and we didn't even put him in the money. So, Tim, I want you to tell me why. Go ahead.
I think he's the biggest underlay in the Kentucky Derby. I really do. Because, you know, when I look at his races, I know that he won the Arkansas Derby, but it set up that day, you know, it for him specifically. But then who did he beat? The horse that we just said had no chance, who was out there at Coal Battle, a maiden in Publisher, Cornucopian, who just flopped in a 3-horse race. I mean, he beat nobody in the Arkansas Derby. That's why I said the Arkansas Derby to me is a complete fade. I don't like that race. I think it was absolutely horrible. He won the Arkansas Derby. Whoo, big deal. You know, what's he done other than that? He won an optional claimer. Other than a maiden, you know, he's been there. Look, I get he's a Tappet. He's going to be way back. He might. Yeah. I think at the beginning and midsection of the race, he's going to be ahead of Final Gambit. That's the only horse he's going to be ahead of in the back, and he's going to come with that typical close that he does. But it's just like, to me, when he was trying to close up on Coal Battle in the Rebel, you know, just too little, too late. And I just think that there are much better horses in this race than Sandman for where he's going to be and what he's trying to do. I don't fault anyone. And look, the connections, you know, they're you can find positives and find a way to put this horse up. But I think the fact that all of us didn't just kind of says something. But again, I will say that looking at all these horses, and they only put 3 in the morning line as single digit odds. And you're telling me Sovereignty and you know, who am I missing? Sovereignty and Journalism. They're the 2 you expect, but Sandman being next, are you kidding me? That's why I say biggest. And I see so many people in our videos picking Sandman. Biggest underlay in the Derby, not getting any of my money. I will not have him on a ticket. If he finishes in the trifecta or superfecta, I lose.
I'll jump in here, and I think everything you said, I'm just going to add to it a little bit. You mentioned the only horse he's going to be in front of is Final Gambit, and comparing the 2 and watching them close, Sandman closes very wonky. He's a goofball out there. Sometimes he picks a different he picks a different direction, whereas Final Gambit closes with precision. I feel like he makes sharp moves, consistent moves. He cuts in. He conserves his energy properly and runs these straight lines, whereas Sandman, he's gotten by with it already. It's cost him in a few races. He got by with it in Arkansas, but I don't think he can get away with it in the Derby. Sean Patrick Nolan, thoughts on Sandman and why he's not there?
No one's hotter than Jose Ortiz. I'll give him that much. He's run good races. I just think, as you said, all over the track. And I think he's a good horse. I just don't think there's going to be too much traffic. He's too inconsistent. He doesn't run the straight line. He's the Sierra Leone this year of the group, with a little less talent in terms of the having to weave around people. I have him at 20-1 on the futures bet. So if he wins, I won't be crushed. But I just don't have him in this group. I might have him underneath, on my superfecta or trifecta plays. But no, I don't think 6-1. And with this kid that has 33 million followers on TikTok, who owns part of Sandman, I think Sandman goes off. You're hearing it right now. 5 to 2, 3 to 1, 7 to all those people betting him. I'm not saying he's worth it. I'm just saying that exactly exactly, and
Could be
that's
people
not worth it.
prospering from it in
Yeah.
the opposite direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right, guys, who do we have at 18 as we turn the page? Any guesses? Any guesses?
Sean?
Oh, we all know. Sean, take it down. You've got
My
sovereignty
boy.
and you're all over it. Go for
All over it, my boy. Exactly. There's my boy, junior jockey, Billy Mott. Here we go. Into Mischief. I think the only Into Mischief baby I've ever seen that runs from behind. Every Into Mischief baby I've ever known runs from the lead. This guy, I heard a great description of him. This horse is the guy in class that was with you that had talent all along, just got by on his skills and his thing, and then all of a sudden found out who he was. That's what sovereignty is that in terms of, and now finally the mental part is catching up to him, which I absolutely love. He has run the best race on this Churchill Downs track, which is very important, right? And you look at it this way: the Fountain of Youth, again, he found a way to win. He didn't even like the track. Even Manny Franco said, "Wow, that horse didn't even like the track." He still came in second in the Florida Derby. When they talk about the numbers, he didn't have to win the Florida Derby. So the fact that he went backwards in the Florida Derby, it was a race he didn't have to win. You know, exactly. The key is too, he gets 5 weeks where the other people got 3 and 4. Bill Mott purposely kept him in Florida because he gets the 5 weeks, which is a big, big help for him coming into the Derby. Right? Again, he's going to have to pick off some horses. Hopefully the trip has to be perfect, but I don't go by numbers for him. Rich Strike ran a 102 on Churchill Downs. He won. The best number on Churchill Downs is him. I really believe this horse is just one of those special horses that can find it and get the job done.
Coming from the 18th position, that's going to be difficult. I did have him in the money. This is a horse that he sort of finds his way there. Like you said, this is a horse that's got a ton of talent. Into Mischief. It's very difficult for me to bet against Into Mischief, especially one that's been in the money 80% of the time. 2 wins for him so far. I also think, right, the race sets up well for him. All these pace setters. He's a closer, a very strategic closer. Junior's on the mount here. Bill Mott. I love a lot of the intangibles around this horse, so I had to put him in the money for me here. Sovereignty. Tim, you have not used him. And of course, right, we only get 5 spots. These are all talented horses. None of us are going to neg any of them, but curious your thoughts on Sovereignty.
Yeah, he's certainly not a toss for me, and I get everything that you guys are saying, and I don't disagree with anything. But once again, I'm just going to say this: that when you look at race shape and where he's going to be, he's going to have to make the trip like a lot of others in here. I have not been overly impressed with Sovereignty's numbers. I think that he kind of falls below when you look at some of the races, and he lost last time out to Penn Street. He beat Neo Equus, which we didn't really like. The time before that, he beats River Thames and Neo Equus. Again, a horse which we really don't like. And it's just like, when I keep looking, here's the thing about my strategy with the Kentucky Derby. This is not as much a knock against Sovereignty as how I choose to approach the race. I am not wagering on the top 2 betting interests. I'm not. I'm just not going to wager. So I'm either taking the favorite or I'm taking the second guy, but I'm not taking them both. And based on everything that we talked about with journalism, I even said the weekend that we saw the Sovereignty run in I think it was the Fountain of Youth, and then we saw journalism out in California. I was more impressed by journalism. I continue to be more impressed by journalism. I told you the horse physically may be one of the most impressive looking horses I've ever seen in my entire life, being around the game since I was a kid. And it's just like, I can't take them both. I think this horse is going to be an underlay based on everything else. I do see a path for this horse to win the race, and being a Godolphin owned horse, I like the connections, and
Especially with Eastern Avenue out there, you know he's going to get an honest pace to
Avenue's going
go.
to be out there. I get all of the things they'll get off and on, but different connections and everything else. But and they're both probably trying to win the race for their connections. But look, I just think that the horse is a little bit underpriced and has underperformed in a couple of ways that I see. That I'm just trying to beat him in a couple of different ways and with some different horses. And I think those horses have a better paths. And when I evaluate it, I'm looking at everything and how the race shapes up. And just as much as like I was talking about earlier, like literally putting 20 horses out there. These horses are going to be speed. These horses are slow. Where does everybody fit? Do I have an inside? Do I have an outside? Where am I going to be? How far back am I going to be? And trying to look at, like, literally visually look at the race shape and try to see where my horse is and how he has to find a path. And Junior's going to be another one of those on a horse closing late that's going to need to make his way. And he definitely can do it. But and this is a horse that has a potential, but I'm not going to play both of those horses in my vertical wagers. I just can't play journalism and sovereignty both the way that I want. And if I'm playing one, it's journalism. So I'm going to play against this horse a little bit in that way. And if he beats me, he beats me.
All right. It should be noted also that Colin Sheehan, who's not here today, also picked Sovereignty as his winner. Moving on, we got two horses left, including Chunk of Gold. I'm going to toss this over to you again, Sean, because you have Chunk of Gold as your favorite long. I've got a few guesses as to why, but go ahead and tell me.
$2,500 purchase from Airdrie Stud, right?
What a bargain.
Out of preservationist,
baby.
Right? His dad gets sold. His dad gets sold to Korea this year, right? From Airdrie Stud, right? Is this the Olympics? Is this how gold medals come? The heart of a champion, right? Exactly. The whole breeding industry goes nuts. The millionaires is the $2,500 horse, passes them all in the stretch. No, but in all seriousness, this horse can hit the board. If you liked his Tastic, right? Yeah. He ran a mile and 3/16. If you liked his Tastic, how can you not like Chunk of Gold? I'm not saying to win. I'm just saying he was right behind him. He was closing and exactly. And if you like Magnitude, he was second to Magnitude. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying, do I think
this doesn't come in third? This horse does not come in third, right?
Right, exactly. But he comes, but he gets there. So do I think this horse is the winner? No. But can he get in the money? Absolutely, because the longer they go, Preservationists had no problem with a mile and a quarter. We know that. So the Ethan West, what a story! $2,500 purchase. It's a great story, but I think this horse is shown with the distance he can do it. So I think he can get in the money. You know what I'm saying? But I don't. Yeah. But exactly. Who knows? If right trip, right path, rich strike, type 2. You know.
Sean Patrick Nolan, I think you can sell that story to Ethan West for a
boom. And I love both Paige and Ethan. Go Ethan, Team West. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Chunk of Gold, he's finished either first or second in 4 races, and we're talking about 3 stakes races. This isn't just talking about, I took a while to break my maiden, and that's about it. Broke his maiden the first time out, and then had 3 stakes races right after that. The Leonidas, what's the other one I'm thinking of? The Battaglia, is that the other one? No, sorry, the Risen Star and the Louisiana Derby.
And then
and came in second in both of those. It's an impressive showing from Chunk of Gold. This is a horse that I have discarded for a while, and then I took a look back at him. I'm like, wait a minute, what do we have here? Kind of breaks my heart to not put him in here as an in the money horse, but like we've said a number of times on this, it's a numbers game. I get if this is your favorite long because he looks the part, right? He's doing everything right. Tim, thoughts?
Yeah, to me, he's just lightly raced, and not only that, yes, he's finished second in 3 races in a row. He's eligible for a non-winners of 2 life here. Okay, let's be honest. But here's the thing, he finished second in those 3 races. Who finished behind him? Who has he beaten? Okay, let's open up and let's talk about. Let's go back to the Risen Star, American Promise, who we said was toss, Render Judgment, toss. Yes, I know East Avenue was behind him in the race.
Wait a minute.
No. Wait, but we also said that
Years
was the
behind.
first race back,
Right.
and we're giving him an
Right.
excuse.
Right.
But still, he hasn't beaten anybody. One horse, you could say he beat East Avenue. Okay, and that's it. Look at the
Instant
other
replay
races.
looked good closing in the LA Derby, by the way.
He looked great
Man.
being 10 lengths behind Magnitude for second behind a bunch of other also
I mean, he
rans.
wasn't that far behind Tistastic.
Yeah, I get it,
Not at
but
all.
I mean, it's just like Tistastic was gear down as well in the Louisiana Derby, and it was all over. So, look, the horses lightly race, modest connections, Ethan West, Jareth Loveberry, great story and everything. If he gets in there, great. Then I will lose all my money on all my tickets. I'm not saying he's a toss by any means. I got horses I just think are a toss. I just don't. I don't think that he is in there. Look at his speed figures. I mean, I've talked about horses that need to move forward who have speed figures that are much better than this. The horses run back-to-back 92s, and pairing 92s means that he's got to step forward quite a bit. And normally when you pair them like that, you're not going to come back significantly off of that. That's pretty much where he's at right now. So look, this is a horse moving forward. I like him, but not in the Kentucky Derby against this field.
All right. Speaking of horses we don't like in the Kentucky Derby, let's close it out with Owen Almighty. All right. As we've said before many of times, Brian Lynch has said in many sort of words, hey, we've got a horse here that could be geared up for a number of stakes races that are shorter distance than the Kentucky Derby.
Day Mile. That Day Mile.
That Day Mile would be perfect for this horse. The connections have said otherwise. This horse is... And I've been a champion of this horse. I am the guy that came out and said after the Sam F. Davis, give him a shot. And then he went on the Tampa Bay Derby, gate to wire, and I said, that's my boy. And I was with the connections. I mean, I understood Brian Lynch. He's the trainer. He knows better than me. But at the same time, I was thinking, I like the numbers this horse is putting up. I like the times that this horse is putting up. And even I am coming to the table to tell you today, toss Owen Almighty. I love this horse. I was against the people who are against this horse, and I am saying you want nothing to do with him at the Kentucky Derby because it will be a pace battle. We've seen him lose pace battles already. It's gonna get ugly, guys. I'll pass it over to Sean, and then Tim can close it out.
Can't rate. Horse can't rate. Just cannot rate. Has to go to the league. He showed the bluegrass. He cannot rate. So I don't know whether the connection said we're going to try him to rate. He doesn't know how to rate. He has nothing no idea how to rate. This horse could be the biggest factor in this Derby and not win. Because if Javier gets him out, if 1, 3, 5, if they get a little bit of a little bit of problem and Eastern Avenue gets out, Javier has one choice from the outside. He's going. There's no doubt about it. He's going. So he's going to help this barbecue and the barbecue ribs and everything. He's got to go. There's no other way. He's got to go. He could be the biggest factor in this race, not from a win standpoint, but he could make people's lives on the lead living hell. You know what I'm saying? For the first mile, whatever. And then if he gets out, if Javier gets him out, and Javier's an excellent gate jockey. So, you know what I'm saying? So if everyone else inside has trouble and he's on the outside and just wings it, I'm just saying I'm tossing him, but he could make the front runners, including Eastern Avenue's life, miserable.
There's one thing he doesn't have to worry about is traffic on his right. Tim, what do you have to say about Owen Almighty?
Yeah, look, Sean's absolutely right. He's going to want to go, and he needs to be on the lead, and he's going to try to go out there. But here's the thing. He was inside East Avenue in the Bluegrass Stakes. He was inside him, and he wanted to go, and he tried to push him, and he couldn't keep up. He did. He tried to push him. If you look, he's trying to run, and he's all out. And he's second.
East Avenue put up unworldly numbers in his early pace.
Right.
Yeah, the early pace was there, and that's why that's why we're saying. And that's why I said East Avenue is going to be the speed in this race, and he is going to be out front, and he is going to be first.
If he gets out though, like the 1, 3, 5, 12, you never know. He's going to be the last horse in the gate, and he's just going straight. I'm saying he's going to be running a mile and a half. But I'm saying, but if he gets straight and everyone else inside gets bumper cars, I'm just saying, and he could be on the lead. Eastern Avenue is the fastest, but
But Sean, with East Avenue being in the 12, I mean, he's right in the middle of the
He
track.
should,
All the
right.
speeds in
As
here.
long as 13 and 14 don't beat him. And don't,
And Owen
yeah.
Almighty is way outside, and I just think that is why I see East Avenue going out to the lead, because he's got nothing in front of him, and he's gonna have that straight line out to where he's not jostling with all that traffic inside, and I just think he's got the best path. And Owen Almighty's got to get around a few horses and come inside, and look, between him and East Avenue, there's no speed in between those two. So from the 12 to the 20, there is no speed. So he's going to be coming in on East Avenue, but just like in the Bluegrass Stakes, instead of being just inside him, he's going to be
fast enough.
He can't keep up with him.
Shortest distance to the rails, the one pole, though. I hate to rewind this because we're going from romantic comedy timelines into drama timelines with our running order here. But yeah, I think Citizen Bull might get up there, but we'll see. He's got a lot of competition.
He is not as fast as East Avenue. I mean, the knock I've had on him from the beginning is he's never been pressed.
23:47.
But he's got less distance to run is the point I'm coming up with. Yeah.
And he's still not fast enough.
But he's 23:47. Yep.
All right, guys. So this is what the chart looks like. If you look through it all, we come to an agreement on a lot of tosses here, which is to be expected. Owen Almighty, Rendered Judgment, and Neo Equus were consensus tosses for us. Journalism being a consensus in the money pick for us. And there's a number of us who agreed at least win in the money, 3 out of 4. Sovereignty comes to mind. Tistastic comes to mind. Burnham Square comes to mind. Luxor Cafe comes to mind because we got a favorite long in there as well. But yeah, this is how the chart looks like top to bottom. If you guys are interested, take a screenshot here. Maybe use it to your advantage. Most contentious horse here, East Avenue. We got a toss and an in the money on East Avenue. Although I guess no, American Promise, Colin Sheehan has as a favorite long, and 2 of us are tossing him.
And I think if you look at this, if you look across, I think if you look 7, 8, 9, 14, and 18, 7, 8, 9, 14, and 18, those are numbers to where there's lots of positives.
Yep.
Yes. Agreed. All right, guys. It's been a pleasure. It's been long, but it's been a lot of fun. This has been our round table. Pleasure as always. Any final comments?
Good luck to everybody. What a race. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, bet with conviction. Go with what you like. Have an opinion before that day. Don't change your mind. Just go in there, bet, and have fun. And look, don't just look at the Derby. Look at the races into the Derby. Look at the horizontals. That is a great day of racing. Then there are a lot of good races on that card. And I think that if the morning lines are any indication, there can be some really good payouts the whole day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good day to challenge the favorites. We found a lot of them in here that we like that are not favorites, and I think we all came to a consensus that the consensus favorite is beatable. But yeah, anyone out there, please gamble responsibly, but also have fun on Derby Day. See you later.